And the Titans are 0-1 in the preseason after losing to Baltimore on Thursday night. And someone else who is 0-1 is rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks. Burks played most of the game. He ran 21 routes but was 0-1 in terms of hauling in targets. He had a single rush for 4 yards. The Titans, of course, as you heard in the package, traded A.J. Brown to Philadelphia at the draft in order to get Burks at 18, but he has struggled during the offseason program. Let's talk a bit about Burks and do some preseason prop picks for Tennessee with senior NFL writer Pete Prisco. Pete, Burks has faced a lot of criticism. He's under a lot of pressure to perform. Now, his quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, pumping his tires a little bit, saying, look, he's been producing for me in terms of training camp. Jamar Chase had a tough preseason too a year ago. Not to say that they're one and the same, but are we being a bit impatient with Burks here, Pete?
Yeah, sometimes during preseason you got to really temper it a little bit no matter who the player is, and particularly for a wide receiver. A lot of times these guys are learning on the fly, and that means when they're out there reading coverages, they're not running the same way they would normally run if they understood what they were seeing. So he's not a burner to begin with, but I think there was an opportunity last night. You saw that play in the second half where it was if he throws the ball inside, he has a chance for a touchdown. Later in the game, if Willis had kept his eyes down the field, he had him for what should have been a touchdown. He was wide open. He never saw him, and he took off and ran. So I think there were some opportunities for Burks. And, yes, we have to be careful jumping on these guys. I remember I talked to Jamar Chase about that last week, and everybody talked about him last year. Oh, he can't catch, he can't catch. He caught it pretty well when it really mattered.
Yeah, so in terms of Burks and his season-long receiving props, it's set at 725 and a hook in terms of his yardage. When you look at that number, Pete, are you going over or under right now?
No, I'm going to go under. I think he's going to get off to a slow start. I think he'll play well down the stretch. But I think this is going to be an adjustment year for him, mostly in the beginning part of the season. I know we've seen a lot of these rookie receivers step in and play and contribute and put up big numbers right away. But I think this is an offense that's more run-heavy than one that wants to throw it around. And I also think he's going to have an adjustment period early in the season. So I will go under. But I think in the second half of the season, you're going to see him show a great improvement than what he does early in the season.
And you see the potential there, just looking at his receptions and receiving yard numbers when he was at Arkansas. All right, let's talk about Titans quarterback Malik Willis. All over social media for some of that scrambling ability we saw last night, but the Titans wanted him to throw a little bit more, Pete. What did you make of what you saw from Willis?
Well, I went back and watched that tape today, and Mike Vrabel was right. I mean, he's got to get rid of the football. And this is a tough transition for any rookie quarterback. It's probably even tougher for him coming from the level of competition that he played in college. But open in the NFL is different than open in college football, and even at the level he played at, which is, he played at a good level some games, but not too many. And so I think he's got to rip it. And the arm is there, the talent is there. He's just got to be more confident in being able to anticipate guys coming open and let the ball go. There were times where there were guys wide open in front of him. He passed on it. And I think that one play that I mentioned earlier, late, it was the play that ended up with him getting yanked out of the game because he did have opportunities. First, he had an in cut on the right side. He didn't throw it to Des Fitzpatrick. And then he had Burks wide open down the seam. Nobody. It was a clear bust. He doesn't even get to it. He pulls out of there and runs. So I think that frustrated Mike Vrabel. There is stuff to be excited about, but he's got to let it rip.
And certainly an adjustment. I mean, it's only the first preseason game. So in terms of the Titans' preseason quarterback prop, you heard Ryan Tannehill say, look, I'm not here to mentor the kid. Tannehill's yardage prop is set at 3,525 and a half yards. Is he over or under that when you look at it?
I think he's going to go over that, and look, he's gone over it the last 2 years. He's gone over it, I think, 6 of his years when he's been in the league, so I think he'll get over that. Remember, they get a lot of yards in the screen game to Derrick Henry when he's on the field. Those count, those add up. They're good at using their tight end in the screen game when they do use them. So I think he'll get it. It's not going to probably be a conventional way to get it where he's throwing it all over the place to the wide receivers. But I think he'll get over that number. And I'll say this, if they don't get over that number, they got big problems in the division and particularly in the AFC.
Yeah, and when you look at Tannehill and his history with the Titans, I mean, you talk about quarterbacks that are under some pressure, certainly Tannehill under a little bit of pressure in Tennessee this season. All right, let's talk about King Henry. Derrick Henry plus 650 to lead the league in rushing. He's back, Pete, looking for double-digit touchdowns once again. Are you buying into King Henry this season?
I am buying into him. I think he'll lead the league in rushing again. I think he's going to get the carries. They'll run him into the ground like they have throughout his career, and he can handle it. He's a big guy. I know he got hurt last year. He won the same guy when he got back, but he looks to be in great shape again. He looks to be back to 100%. So I think he will get the rushing title again. And look, watching the tape last night, they drafted a kid, Petit Ferrer from Notre Dame. From Ohio State. He looked outstanding at right and left tackle. So they'll be much better on the offensive line. I think they'll be more physical. And with their concerns at wide receiver, you're going to have to run it and try and take the pressure off Tannehill and throw off the run, which they've done throughout Henry's career. So he's going to lead the league in rushing. I'm going with Derrick Henry with the odds.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor plus 500 as the leader there, with Henry second at plus 650. Right, in terms of the Titans' futures to win the AFC South, they're sitting at plus 160. Pete, you've been saying people might be sleeping on Matt Ryan and the Indianapolis Colts, but do you think these Titans can pay out at plus 160?
No, I'm going to go with the Colts, and I think Matt Ryan is the difference. If you look at the two quarterbacks, he's a better player than Ryan Tannehill. I think the Colts have some good young talent. They're going to count on some young players, outside like Alec Pierce to really help their passing game, but I think they're the better team right now. But the Titans, to take the Titans off that throne, that's not going to be easy. That's a tough, physical, nasty team coached by a guy who, preaches tough, physical, nasty football. And week in and week out, it's going to be a battle with the Titans. But I think in the end, I'm going to go with the Colts in the division.
Yeah, Colts sitting there, you see a minus 130. Then the Jaguars at plus 750. Texans, the big long shot, at plus 3,000. Tennessee's win total set at 9.5 wins. A tough gauntlet in that first month. They get Buffalo, Vegas, and the Colts in a 3-week span before the bye week. They get the Commanders just before the bye week. Are you taking the over or the under on the win total, Pete?
I'm going to take the under. I think they're going to get to 9. I don't think they're going to get over. I don't think they're going to get to 10. So I'm going to take the under. But would it surprise me to see them get to 10? No, because that's who they are. They're going to be a physical team that stays in a lot of games, plays physical defense with their down defensive line. They get after the quarterback, and they'll run Derrick Henry. But I think they're going to win 9 games, so I'm going to take the under. But it wouldn't shock me. I'd stay away from this one. It wouldn't shock me to see them get to 10.
Yeah, you look at week 4 and week 7 against the Colts. Those 2 games obviously going to be big. It might go a long way to determining whether or not they can certainly win the AFC South and get to that double-digit total. All right, let's zoom in on that opener. 6-point favorites against Daniel Jones and the Giants for week 1. The total set at 43 and a hook. What's your play as of today?
I'm going to take the points. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I don't think right now and early in the season they'll throw the ball as well as they will late in the season. That'll keep the score down. I think the Giants will be a better football team than they were a year ago. And I think one of the things you got to keep an eye on is, can they protect the quarterback? Evan Neal looked good in his first start. I think he's going to amp up the offensive line and make them a better group. So I'm going to take the points. I don't think the Giants win the game, but I think they hang around.
We're going to keep it close. Senior NFL writer Pete Prisco talking Titans preseason props with us. Pete, good to see you as always. For more storylines from the NFL, be sure to check out the Pick 6 podcast. Will Brinson, Ryan Wilson, John Breach. Latest episode, a Week 1 preseason preview. You can download and follow wherever you get your preferred podcast audio. You can also watch the Pick 6 pod on YouTube.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.